Please state your name, title, and company.
Hi, I'm Jody Padar. I'm the Radical CPA. My entity is New Vision CPA Group. We're located in Chicago, Illinois. I also have New Vision Wealth Management.
Awesome. Can you discuss that? Let's get into kind of the radical transformation of CPAs and what you believe that the accounting profession needs to take in order to be more innovative in the coming years.
So I began my radical journey almost 12 years ago. I came off a really bad tax season in an old school firm, 7 partners, 50 or so staff, and nobody knew what everybody was doing. So it was really 7 separate practices, and we were working a bazillion hours a week. And I was a young mother, and it just wasn't the right culture, right? And I thought, I went to school for all of this, and now it was just all this work and all these hours. So I left, and of course I thought I could do it better. At that point, I joined my dad's firm, which was really just a side 1040 practice because he had been in corporate tax. And the first thing he said to me was, I'm like, Dad, I joined you. And he's like, yeah. He goes, go find your own clients. So it was the best advice he ever gave me because I had to learn how to build a business. So that was around like 12 years ago. But what happened was at that time, the people who I was attracting and my business owners who were coming into our firm looked like me, acted like me, and talked like me. And they used technology significantly different than the way the old school CPA firm had worked. And so I had to evolve my practice or my business model, though nobody told me that's what it was called at that time, right? So I had to rethink how I was gonna price services, how we were gonna use technology, and how we were going to work with this new type of customer who looked like me and worked. Well, fast forward, 12 years, and now there's a bunch of CPAs who work like us in the same sort of way. And what happens is after you automate your practice so significantly, meaning using 100% cloud tools, utilizing social media, really pricing for value instead of time spent, you realize, well, what else can I do for my customers? And that's where I came to financial planning and wealth management. And so, of course, eMoney was the natural tool for me because it was cloud-based. So it just seemed to fit right into our suite of how we do business with our customers.
Great. So how do you see CPAs using eMoney today? And what advice would you give them in order to kind of incorporate more financial planning into their business?
So I love the idea of using eMoney in my practice, and even if you're not a licensed advisor, because I think we have to separate CPAs into 2 groups, right? There's CPAs who are licensed advisors who have the potential to have assets under management, and there are CPAs who can do financial planning without any assets under management. And what's amazing to me is eMoney fits in both groups, right? So if you're not licensed, eMoney fits into the tool of giving you a structure to have a conversation around financial planning with your customer, right? So you can talk about all the important things that go into a financial plan, and you have a tool and reports and online real-time access to information to help them. And so that's awesome, but just make sure you charge for it separately, right? So don't just give it away for free, because too many times CPAs think, oh, it's easy for me, and they forget that it's not so easy for the customer. So they'll say, oh, look, here's a new tool, and then they forget to actually add value on top of it and charge for that value. So I think that's one area that CPAs can actually use eMoney as a tool, even if they're not licensed. The second piece is, let's say you are a licensed financial advisor, well then your reporting just has to go through compliance, right? But aside from that, eMoney allows you to really separate the financial planning piece from the asset management piece. And again, charge for the financial planning piece, and then assets under management will just follow. And what we've done in our practice is we've led with financial planning, and then assets under management are secondary to us. And the reason I think that's so important, especially from a CPA perspective, is we're coming at it from a holistic viewpoint and from a viewpoint of really taking care of our whole customer, and financial planning should be the first thing you do. It shouldn't be about the assets. The assets are important, but that's not where the plan comes from.
So where do you think that CPA should, if they haven't done any financial planning, how do they get started? Where do they begin? Financial planning might come off as really complicated to some CPAs, so what would your advice be there?
So financial planning kind of cracks me up because we do financial planning every day as part of our CPA role. We just don't call it financial planning, and a lot of times we haven't separated out of our regular conversations with our clients and thought about actually charging for it separately. So when your customer comes in and asks you about Social Security and when they should start taking a distribution, guess what? That's financial planning. Guess what? In the eMoney tool, you can actually do all those calculations and figure out the best way for them to approach it, right? But I don't think as CPAs we think about ourselves necessarily as financial planners. Sometimes we think about it, we get so caught in the doing of the work, so we're so involved in the bookkeeping or the tax prep or whatever, but we forget that the most important piece of that, of the value that we can provide to our customer is actually in the relationship. And in what I really like is the behavioral piece of financial planning, and that's helping your clients or your customers move towards their financial goals as opposed to just helping them, look backwards and say, oh yeah, I spent this much money, or oh yeah, that was a tax return, right? So we really need to get more forward looking, and financial planning helps us get there.
Great. Would love to hear your initial reaction to foundational planning and if that plays a role in any way with CPAs.
So I really like the idea of financial planning because to me it's a little bit a lighter version. So it's a good starter space, right? So it's simpler, it's easier to just pick it up and roll with it. eMoney is an awesome tool, but it has so much detail in it that like as you keep uncovering things, you're like, oh my God, that is so cool that I can do that. But you don't even know you can do it until you stumble upon it. So what Foundations does is it gives you the basics, what you need first, and get comfortable with that and give it to your clients and get them comfortable with the whole idea of financial planning and the process. And then as their lives get more complicated, or if you want to sell a higher level financial planning service, at that point you can use the full eMoney product, and like you could go crazy with all the different scenarios you do. So like sometimes we just geek out and see what you can do even though it's really not relevant, but it's cool.
Awesome. You clearly do an awesome job at marketing. You share a lot of great content on LinkedIn. I don't think marketing being a pain point is limited to just the financial services space. I wonder if CPAs kind of have a struggle and how you kind of help them market their business a little bit more, especially if they're looking to be more innovative and incorporate more of these services into their business model. What would your recommendations be to them in order to market those additional services that they can bring?
So people do business with people. They always have and they always will. It's just marketing in today's day is different. It's using different tools. So instead of going to a Chamber of Commerce meeting and meeting people, you just hang out online. But the most important thing that I think most CPAs and financial professionals lose, and part of it is I think they're afraid of it, is sharing themselves and their true selves. Because what you find is when you really get authentic with your marketing, the people who work with you really want to work with you because they love you, and that's what connects them. And so that by the time that prospect walks in your door, the sale's already made because they've already understand your viewpoint, they know where you're coming from, they're excited about working with you, so then it's just, okay, well, how do we engage together? And I think too many CPAs buy canned content and they don't personalize it, and so people don't connect to it because your prospects see it as canned content as well. So what you can do to lessen that load for you is hire an editor. So if you don't want to blog, you need to put your voice into that blog, but you don't have to make it perfect. There's lots of tools out there like where you can transcribe things. So let's say you don't want to write, you could do a quick snippet and transcribe it and have an editor polish it, clean it up, and post it for you so that it's in your voice. Also, there's microblogging, which is actually Twitter and LinkedIn, which is where you put a comment around a piece of content. And too many CPAs and financial planners just repost content, but they don't put their perspective on it. And so without that perspective, it's just, again, generic content, which you're throwing out into cyberspace, and there's so much content that everybody, doesn't know what to go to. So remember to add yourself to it. The other thing is play with video. Video is so fun and it's easy to do. People think that video has to be perfectly polished, and it doesn't, because if you're authentic and you're who you are, then it'll come off in the right way. And again, people connect with people, and if you're connecting via video, it's great. Now, it's taken me a long time to build my followers, and I started, it was like 8 years ago. But for me, they're my friends, right? And that's just part of who I am. So marketing is not a chore for me. It's just an everyday conversation. And if you look at it from that perspective, with just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to getting more followers and more contacts, and really building your brand, because ultimately that's what you're trying to do. It's not just about likes and comments, it's about your brand, so that when people walk in your door, they're ready to do business with you.
Awesome. Would love to hear your experience with eMoney support staff. So we obviously have a team of planners and trainers in our client support team. Would love to hear what your experience has been so far, and how, I know we talked about a little bit of getting CPAs more comfortable with doing financial planning. So how would our support team be able to kind of accommodate that?
So what's really cool about the eMoney team is they're super, most of them are financial planners, or a bunch of them are financial planners as well. But what's really cool is when you call them, you tell them what the problem is, and they walk you through exactly how the software is going to help you get to the answer that you expect, or you want, or you want to get to. So they really know their software inside and out, and they'll be on the phone with you for 45 minutes, an hour. So I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not, but they're awesome. So they don't mind teaching you as you learn the financial planning process, because their software is really complex. And I don't mean complex in a bad way, I mean complex in the way that you could come up with the most complicated trust and estate thing going on, and their software is going to be able to handle it. And that's what I think is cool about their software, because it does have the complexity that we can go into with our clients that you couldn't do before.
Awesome. What's your favorite aspect of eMoney?
Probably the vault and the onboarding piece of it. So the reason, and then I guess real time, right? So the reason I actually came to eMoney before a few years ago, because one of our clients was using eMoney. Well, one of my clients' financial advisors was using eMoney, and they let me into the vault. And I was like, this tool is so cool. And I was like, and it's in the cloud, and I was so excited, but it was branded to him. So I didn't even know that it was eMoney, right? So eMoney kind of has this thing on the down low where they white label it. So you may actually have already used the tool and not known that it was eMoney. So then fast forward, and when I started using eMoney, I really liked, it's real time, right? So everything in our world is real time, and the cloud is real time. So that's really important. But I like the cash flow component, because I think a lot of our clients need help with cash flow. And if you look at the other products on the market, they don't have the cash flow component to it. That's the ease of use of it. And then I think the other piece that they've done really well is that onboarding piece, where you can send an email to your customer or to a prospect, and it asks them some questions, and it's pretty user friendly, and they can engage with the software that way. So what's there not to like about eMoney?
Awesome. You're obviously a FlexGener, as demonstrated this morning. Would love to just hear from you what FlexGen means to you.
So FlexGen. I think FlexGen is an awesome term, because there's too much separation in the world today, right? Why is it the boomers against the millennials? And I'm stuck right in the middle. I'm an Xer, right? So like the last few years, it's like, let's pit everything against the millennials and then like, oh, we hate the boomers and whatever. And ultimately, we need to learn from each other and we need to put it all together and change with the world as the world's changing around us. So that's what I really like about the FlexGen is it's not an age thing, it's just a mindset of continually learning. And I think if you approach it from there, I read a article where they called it a mentor, and I thought that was a really good thing because the boomers can mentor and then they can intern at the same time. So you have a mentor, right? Because the boomers can learn and anyways, it just works, right? A mentor. So to me, that's what the FlexGen is about, is how we're gonna mentor moving forward, right? We're gonna mentor and we're gonna intern at the same time. And then I think the last piece is how do we collaborate with each other and just keep the learning going, because I think I think we don't know what we don't know yet, and I think that's kind of terrifying in some ways, but on the other side, it's just lots of opportunity. And if you have that flexible mindset that you're part of the FlexGen, we're all gonna figure it out together. We don't have to be afraid to go on this journey. We're just gonna make it because we're gonna do it together.
Awesome, love it. Finally, we would love to hear you say into the camera, I am FlexGen.
I am FlexGen.
Perfect. Thank you, Jody.